Okay, I have the dish that I'm going to be using to braise this in, and I've got about 3 pounds of this beef that's, this is an unusual cut. You know, Russian butchery is a very different thing from how meat's usually cut up in the U.S. I'm not even entirely sure what part of the cow this is on. It looks like some kind of blade chop. You could use a rib roast or something else for this, but I've got the spices that are listed there that are already ground up. I'm going to put some of them in the bottom here, and I'm going to put the meat in, and I'm going to put the rest on top and massage the whole thing around just to get it evenly coated. Just spend a couple minutes, you know, make it as even as you can. I got the meat evenly seasoned. I put that back on a plate. As you can see, there's not too much seasoning left in here. So now I'm going to scatter that onion in the bottom, and I'm going to distribute tomato sauce. I'm using this is just a pureed tomato sauce. You can use something boxed from Italy. You can make your own. I actually did make this myself. And a glass of red wine. It's about 4 ounces, 120 milliliters. And this is going to be in the bottom. We're going to use more wine later, but this is just part of the braise. Then we're going to arrange this meat in here, and we're going to begin the cooking of it on a very high heat. Also, you put the fat side up so that as it begins to cook, the fat runs down into the meat, keeps it tender, and gives it more flavor. So it's just like this. It's going to go into a very hot oven initially, and then we're going to put the lid on it, turn the heat way down, and braise it for a long time. Okay, it's been half an hour now. Going to open this up. Meat's got some brown on it. I'm going to add these bay leaves, dill, and parsley. Just kind of scatter it around. And put the lid on. Turn the heat way down. And begin the braise. Okay, into 200 grams of flour. I'm adding about 40 grams of sour cream and 2 whole eggs. This is going to get processed to making the dough for the pot. Then after this comes together, we're going to knead it just a little bit more. Don't forget, when it goes to the pasta machine, it's going to get kneaded plenty. So you don't have to go too crazy here. A lot of pasta recipes tell you to knead this for. I've seen times listed for up to 20 minutes. And certainly 10 minutes is common. Honestly, it won't make very much difference. All you need to do is run it through the machine about 3 times on each setting instead of once, and you'll save yourself a lot of time and effort on this. It needs to be kneaded a little bit, just to make sure it all comes together, and the flour is going to hydrate evenly. But you really don't need to go nuts. I'm showing you the entire amount of kneading that I'm going to give this dough before it goes into the pasta machine later. I have not cut anything out of this video. This is the entire amount of kneading that I am going to give this. And that's about it. Yeah, it's still a little bit sticky. It's a little bit gloopy. I'm not going to worry about that. It will be fine later on. I'm going to wrap it up in plastic, stick it in the fridge for about half an hour, and let it hydrate, and we'll come back and take care of it again. Okay, it's been a couple of hours of taking this out. Now, if you're not sure, you just take a fork and kind of feel it. It should have a little bit of resistance. You don't want it to be complete mush, otherwise it'll fall apart when you make the rest of it. but it should be tender. This is pretty tender, and that's good. We're gonna let it cool down and then strain off the liquid, the cooking broth from it, and use that in the sauce. Here's the meat out of the sauce. I'm gonna let this cool down just a little bit before we actually quite a bit before we're gonna strain the cooking liquid, get rid of all the solids. Now it's time to cook the mushrooms. Got the butter in the pan. I'm going to sprinkle in a little paprika. Maybe it's half a teaspoon, something like that, not a lot. We're going to let this cook for a minute or two first. Okay, been a minute. I'm going to add the mushrooms now. Make sure that you don't sure that you don't use a pan that's too small. You don't want the mushrooms stacked up on top of each other. They must have a single layer. And after the meat's cooled, you got to take it off of the bone, go through, look for all the connective tissue and gristle and stuff. You're going to have to trim that off. And what you want to end up with is just strips of the meat like this that's ready to go in with the mushroom sauce. And you're going to have to pick through it a little bit with your fingers so you don't waste some. Now the mushrooms have got some color on them. I'm going to add red wine, and I'm going to continue cooking these until the wine is almost all absorbed. Not completely, but until it gets fairly dry. Check back on these in just a couple of minutes. Okay, almost all of the wine's been absorbed. I'm going to add the cognac and flambe it. Make sure you stand back or you won't have any eyebrows left. Okay, and after a few seconds this dies down. Now, we've got the meat that was all carefully trimmed from earlier. I'm going to add that in with the mushrooms. And that cooking liquid, which I've removed the fat from. I've strained off the fat. We're going to add all of that cooking liquid back in. And about a tablespoon of minced dill. Just kind of distribute that. And I'm going to bring this up to a slow simmer and let that cook for just a few minutes to thicken up. Okay, put some smetana, high-fat sour cream down first. Do it carefully. Emphasis on carefully, so we don't want to screw this up. Put the pasta down. So let it overhang just a little bit for now. And I'm going to fill it with mushrooms and beef. More smetana, and don't worry about this being too even because it'll all, after it's done cooking, it'll all even out anyway. And then we're going to fold this over, and we're going to put it in the broiler for just a couple of minutes. Also look for my cocktail book, Cocktails of the South Pacific and Beyond, Advanced Mixology, available through Amazon online.